Ever feel like you need a rocket scientist to understand the Indian market?
Oh, sometimes.
Well, buckle up because today we're digging into Amber Enterprises and their numbers, let me tell you, they're out of this world.
No kidding, they just dropped a financial report that's got everyone talking.
Record revenue, booming electronics, even a glimpse into the future of train travel, all in one report. Ready to decode it.
Absolutely. These numbers tell a story, not just about Amber, but maybe about where India's whole industrial scene is headed.
Let's jump right in. 1,685 crore in revenue this quarter alone.
It's a jaw-dropper, for sure. 82% jump from last year.
And it's not just a fluke. Their half-year figures are up 55% too. Something's working for them. What's the secret sauce?
It's a mix of smart moves and, gotta admit, riding some good luck. Remember those heat waves India got slammed with?
Oh yeah, my AC was working overtime, that's for sure.
Exactly. Air conditioner sales went through the roof, and guess who supplies a ton of AC parts?
Amber. But they're not a one-trick pony, are they?
Nope, not even close. Their electronics division, for example, practically doubled in size. 98% growth. Can you believe that?
That's insane. Gotta be more than just AC parts, right?
You're right on the money. They're making a play in the printed circuit board market. Now, PCBs, those are the brains in almost every gadget you own.
Oh, so they're in my phone, my laptop too.
Exactly. And they're ramping up production like crazy to keep up. New plant in Hoser, get this, they're teaming up with a South Korean company, Korea Circuit.
Ooh, international partnerships always get my attention. What's the angle there?
Two things. One, expertise.
Uh,
Korea Circuit, they're masters of the high-end PCB game, the kind used in, say, semiconductors. That's new territory for Amber.
so they're leveling up their tech.
Exactly. And two, it's about getting their foot in the door with the big global tech players, not just local companies. Smart move, if you ask me.
Sounds like it. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? Their railway division, I noticed that actually shrank this quarter. What gives?
Yeah, bit of a mixed bag there. Some big projects hit some snags, like the Mumbai Metro got delayed. That hurt.
Makes sense. Projects get pushed back all the time.
Happens to the best of them. But hold on, it's not all bad news. They're working on some really cool stuff. New train components, even tech transfer agreements to start building more advanced parts right there in India.
So long-term vision.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Big picture thinking. This division could be a game changer down the line.
So what's the bottom line for our listeners? Should they be calling their brokers?
It's not a simple buy or sell situation. These results, they tell a story of a company that's hungry, willing to take risks, and knows how to diversify.
Not afraid to shake things up.
Exactly. Strong financials for sure, but the real takeaway is their strategy. They're laser focused on growth sectors, electronics, railways. This is a company to watch.
Seriously impressive to see an Indian company like Amber making moves like this, especially in those sectors. Those are becoming globally important, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It really speaks to India becoming a manufacturing powerhouse. You see all these companies now, they want to diversify. They don't want to rely on just one place like China anymore.
And India's got the workforce, the growing economy. They're in a good spot to benefit.
Exactly. And Amber, they're right there leading the charge. That Korea Circuit partnership is a perfect example. It's not about replacing China. It's about, having more options, spreading the risk. Everybody wins.
Exactly. It's exciting to see Indian companies like Amber right there in the mix. But let's break it down a bit. We've talked about their growth, but where are they really making their mark? What are the specifics?
Well, let's start with their bread and butter, the consumer durables division. They've got a real stronghold in the AC and refrigeration market, supplying components to some big names you definitely recognize.
Right, but they're branching out too, aren't they? I saw something about washing machines.
Good eye. That's a smart move. They've already got the reputation, the network. Why not offer the whole package, right?
Makes sense. But can they actually handle it? Expanding into new products like that takes some serious manufacturing muscle.
Oh, they've got the muscle, believe me. Multiple facilities across India, equipped for all sorts of consumer durables. Plus, they're pouring money into upgrades, new tech, the whole 9 yards. They're in it for the long haul.
Smart. That's how you build for the future. Speaking of the future, we got to talk about their electronics division. That's where the real fireworks are in terms of growth. What's driving that train?
It's all about EMS, electronics manufacturing services. Think of it like this. Companies, instead of building their own factories, hiring a whole workforce, they outsource it all to a specialist like Amber.
So like contract manufacturing, but for electronics.
Exactly. Way more cost effective, especially if electronics isn't your main thing.
Makes sense, but what are they actually making over there? What's on the menu?
Oh, it's a buffet over there. Everything from printed circuit boards, those PCBs we talked about, to complete electronic assemblies. Their PCB game is particularly strong. They've got these top-notch facilities, can handle anything, from basic single-layer boards to the super complex multi-layer ones used in high-end gear.
The hidden heroes of our gadgets, right? Never realized PCBs were in so much stuff.
Most people don't, but essential they are. And their customer list proves it. Consumer electronics, telecommunications, automotive, industrial automation, even defense.
Wow, talk about covering your bases. But that PCB market, that's got to be a tough one. Tons of competition. How do they stand out?
You're not wrong, it's a crowded field. But they've built a reputation, high quality, on time, on budget. Reliability is huge in this business. Delays cost money.
Reliability is king, but it usually comes at a price, right?
Not necessarily. Actually, one of Amber's strengths is their pricing. They figured out how to keep costs down without sacrificing quality, a winning combination for sure. But it's not just about price.
What else is in the mix?
Customer service, big time, dedicated team, always there to help build those relationships. Plus, they're R&D focused, always improving, new tech, new products. They're not standing still.
Always innovating, love to hear it. Now, we can't forget about their railway subsystems and mobility division. That one's close to my heart. It's all about India's infrastructure boom.
Right. And they're a big part of it, catering to one of the biggest rail networks on the planet. And it's not just maintaining what they have. India's got huge plans, high-speed rail, metro systems, the works.
That's a golden opportunity for companies that can deliver, right?
Absolutely. And Amber's ready. They've got the know-how to make a huge range of components, HVAC systems, those pantographs that connect to the power lines, you name it.
Sounds like they're the Swiss Army knife of railway parts.
Huh, pretty much.
Yeah.
Couplers, gangways, doors, even components for those microprocessor controllers they use in signaling. They do it all.
One-stop shop for all your railway needs. Impressive.
And it's not just making this stuff. They've got the engineering and design chops, too.
Right.
Work closely with clients, custom solutions. That's how you build strong relationships.
It's all connected. But with all this focus on India, are they thinking global at all? What about the international railway market?
For now, it's mainly domestic. But they're not ignoring the rest of the world, not at all. They've been hitting up those international trade fairs, making connections, exploring partnerships. It's all part of the plan.
Gotta think big, right? It's good to see them aiming high.
Absolutely. Their story really speaks to the potential of Indian businesses on the world stage. It's an exciting time.
It is exciting. But let's be real, no company's perfect. What are some of the bumps in the road for Amber? What are the challenges?
Good point. Every company's got their hurdles, right? For Amber, one of the biggest is competition. It's fierce everywhere they operate. Consumer durables, that market's jam-packed. Local and international players, all fighting for a slice.
So they got to be on their toes, constantly innovating, keeping those prices sharp.
Exactly. And electronics, even more intense. You've got global heavyweights in the mix, especially from China and Southeast Asia. Those guys are no joke.
How do you even compete in that arena?
It's all about adaptation, constant improvement. You got to squeeze every bit of efficiency out of your operations. New tech, new ideas. It never stops.
Sounds exhausting.
It's a grind, for sure. And then you've got the challenges specific to India. The railway sector, for example, tons of potential, but, well, let's just say navigating the Indian bureaucracy, that's a challenge in itself. Permits, regulations, it can be a real headache.
The infamous red tape, yeah, that can really stifle things.
It's a real issue, and then you've got the government spending, infrastructure projects, that could be unpredictable.
Budgets get cut, priorities change, that's politics, right?
Exactly. Makes it tough for companies like Amber to plan long-term. Got to be flexible.
Agile, adaptable, I hear you. But what about internal challenges? Growing that fast has got to come with its own set of headaches.
Oh, absolutely. Managing rapid growth, that's one of the biggest challenges any company faces. As you get bigger, things get more complex. Systems, processes, finding the right people. It's a whole new ballgame.
You got to level up your whole game as you grow.
Exactly. Amber, they need to keep evaluating their structure, their management, their talent pipeline, make sure it can handle the growth.
Always be assessing, always be improving. And talent, finding good people is tough these days, right? Especially in tech, manufacturing, those are competitive fields.
For sure. Amber's got to offer competitive salaries, benefits, but it's more than that now, especially the younger generation. They want purpose, a company that aligns with their values.
It's about more than just the paycheck now, for sure.
Exactly. Companies that get that create that kind of environment, they'll win the talent game. It's not just about profits anymore. It's about being a good corporate citizen.
Absolutely. So Amber's got a lot on their plate, opportunities and challenges, but their track record so far, it's impressive.
They've got a knack for navigating tricky waters, that's for sure. But what about the future? Can they keep this up? Can they keep growing like this?
The million-dollar question. No one can predict the future, but what do you think? What does the road ahead look like for Amber?
Well, there are a few things working in their favor. First off, the Indian economy is still going strong, one of the fastest growing in the world.
That's got to be good news for companies like Amber. Their sectors are closely tied to economic growth.
Right. Consumer durables, electronics, infrastructure, all those benefit from a booming economy. As India grows, so does Amber. It's a pretty simple equation.
Riding the wave. I like it.
Exactly. And then there's the government. They're laser focused on infrastructure, especially railways. We talked about those ambitious plans. That's a gold mine for companies like Amber.
And with their partnerships, their investments, they seem ready to cash in.
They're definitely playing their cards right. And let's not forget the Make in India push. The government wants to boost domestic manufacturing, reduce those imports. That's all good news for Amber.
So they've got the demand, they've got government support. Sounds like a recipe for success.
It's a powerful combination, for sure. And then there's their commitment to innovation. That's key. They're not content to just keep up. They want to be the ones leading the pack.
Always one step ahead. Love that mentality.
It's what separates the good from the great. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. There's a big elephant in the room, and that's the global economic slowdown. That's got to have some impact, right?
Yeah. No one's immune to a global recession. How could that affect Amber's plans?
Well, it could dampen demand, especially for consumer electronics. Anything that relies on those global supply chains could hurt their exports, especially in the electronics division.
That's a valid concern, but how can they mitigate that risk?
Well, they've got a few things going for them. First, diversification. Their electronics might take a hit, but their other divisions, consumer durables, railway systems, those are more insulated from global shocks.
Oh, I'll put all your eggs in one basket, right? Smart thinking. And their strong domestic presence in India, that's huge. The Indian market is expected to weather the storm better than most. That gives them a cushion.
So they're not completely immune, but they've got some protection.
Exactly. Plus, they're all about cost control, efficiency. Those are crucial in tough times.
Lean and mean, got to be able to adapt. So, big picture, how do you feel about Amber's chances?
Cautiously optimistic, I'd say. They've got a lot going for them, great track record, diversified business, they know how to innovate, and the Indian market is on their side. But those challenges, competition, regulations, global uncertainty, they're real.
It's a tightrope walk for sure, but they seem to have good balance.
It all comes down to execution. Can they keep adapting, keep innovating? That's the question.
Well said. We'll be watching closely, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Now let's zoom out a bit. Amber's success, it really speaks to the bigger picture, the rise of Indian manufacturing. What's your take on this whole Make in India thing? Is it living up to the hype? Make India, it's a bold vision, right? Turning India into a global manufacturing hub. It's ambitious. There have been some bumps in the road, sure, but I think it's got real potential to be transformative.
What makes you say that? What's driving this optimism?
A few things. First, the workforce. It's huge, it's young, it's eager to learn. That's a manufacturer's dream.
India's got that demographic advantage, that's for sure. Many countries would kill for that.
No kidding. But it's not just about numbers, it's about skills. And the government, they're investing in training, education. They're getting people ready for these jobs.
Investing in people, that's the key.
Couldn't agree more. And, of course, there's the cost advantage. Labor in India is still significantly cheaper than in developed countries.
That's a big draw for manufacturers, especially in industries where margins are tight.
Huge factor.
Right.
But it's not just about being cheap. The government's also making it easier to do business, cutting red tape. That's huge.
Because that's been a problem in the past, right?
Yeah.
Too much bureaucracy scares away investors.
For sure. But things are changing. India's been climbing those ease of doing business rankings. It's becoming more attractive.
That's what we like to hear.
And then there's the domestic market. It's massive, and it's growing fast. Companies that manufacture in India, they've got a built-in customer base, hundreds of millions of people.
Home field advantage, can't beat that.
Exactly. And the middle class is expanding. That means more demand for consumer goods. It's a virtuous cycle.
So Make in India isn't just about exporting, it's about serving that huge domestic market.
Absolutely. And we can't forget the geopolitical factors at play. Those U.S.-China trade tensions, that's a big deal. Companies are looking for alternatives. They want to diversify those supply chains.
And India's right there. Strategic location, growing capabilities, skilled workforce. It's a no-brainer.
Exactly. Make in India is happening at the perfect time. The whole global manufacturing scene is in flux. India's got a real chance to capitalize.
A real opportunity to become a powerhouse. It's an exciting time to be part of it all.
Absolutely. Will there be challenges? Of course. But I'm optimistic. I think Make in India has the potential to really shake things up.
It's a vision worth getting behind, that's for sure. Now, let's talk about Amber's relationship with their investors for a second. They've been doing a great job keeping everyone in the loop.
Agreed. Transparency is key, and they seem to get that. Their latest investor presentation, it's very thorough, lays out their financials, their plans, their outlook, the whole 9 yards.
They clearly value their investors. They want them to be part of the journey. They even provided contact info for anyone who wants to know more.
Now that's what I call open communication. It builds trust. And they gave out details for both the company and their investor relations advisors.
Talk about being accessible. Love to see it. Now let's dig into some of Amber's strategic moves, the investments they're making to solidify their position. One thing that jumps out is their focus on expanding their manufacturing capacity.
Capacity is king. They know that if they want to meet that growing demand, they need to be able to produce. And they're doing it strategically, not just building willy-nilly. They've got a plan.
And that new PCB plant in Hoser, that's a prime example, right?
Absolutely. State-of-the-art facility, huge boost to their PCB production. They're playing in the big leagues now.
A bold statement, but it shows they're serious.
For sure. More capacity, more jobs, helps the local economy too.
Everybody wins. Another smart move, their focus on research and development.
They're not resting on their laurels. They know the game's always changing. You got to innovate to survive.
Yeah.
Dedicated R&D team, always cooking up something new.
Innovation across the board, from consumer durables to railways, it's impressive.
It's in their DNA. They want to be leaders, not followers. And speaking of smart moves, that Korea Circuit joint venture that's huge gives them access to cutting-edge tech and new markets.
Two birds, one stone. It's not just about expanding, it's about leveling up their tech game.
Exactly. Korea Circuit, they're the masters of high-end PCBs, the kind used in semiconductors. It's a whole new level. Amber gets the tech, the expertise, the access to new markets.
It's like skipping ahead a few steps.
Exactly. They can go after those high-value PCB markets now. Smartphones, data centers, the big leagues.
A true win-win. Korea Circuit gets access to Amber's production muscle in India. Amber gets the tech and the market access.
A partnership made in heaven.
Now back to the railways for a minute. They've been making waves there too, haven't they?
Absolutely. That deal with Yujin Machinery, another South Korean company, but this time it's all about railway components.
They love those South Korean partnerships, and who can blame them? They've been fruitful.
Right. And this one ties in perfectly with Make in India. The goal is to start producing those key components locally, reduce dependence on imports, boost the domestic industry.
Music to the government's ears, I'm sure.
Definitely. They're setting up shop in India, producing couplers, gears, pantographs, all with advanced tech. It's a big step towards self-reliance in a critical sector.
Amber's right there on the front lines of India's modernization push.
They're not just riding the wave. They're helping to create it. It's inspiring to see, honestly.
It's really something else, seeing an Indian company like Amber taking such an active role, shaping the future, not just going with the flow.
They're a real inspiration, shows what Indian companies can do when they set their sights high, aim for that global stage.
Absolutely. Their story is fascinating, but I'm sure our listeners thinking, okay, but what does this all mean for me? What's the big takeaway here?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. India, it's not just the back office of the world anymore. Those days are over. It's a place where innovation is happening, manufacturing is thriving.
The game's changing,
Yes.
and India's right there at the forefront.
Exactly. And companies like Amber, they're leading the charge, showing the world what's possible in this new era of manufacturing.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A huge thank you to expert speaker for joining me on this deep dive.
My pleasure. Always enjoy a good deep dive.
It's been an eye-opener, that's for sure. Amber Enterprises, a company to watch, a company that's shaping the future of India. And for you, dear listener, we'll leave you with this thought. What other Indian companies are on your radar? Who do you think is next in line to make a global splash? Do your research and let us know what you find. Until next time.